Vikram and all are not there.
Vikram is also there. Just Vikram and
Okay.
Charan are also there. Join.
Okay.
Yeah. Please start.
Okay. Good evening, students. I think last week I started with physical features. So today I will start with Indian agriculture. Okay. So I'll just share the screen and then we'll just go through all the points once again. Okay. Yeah. So can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes, ma.
Yeah. Sure. So first introduction part when we talk about geography is that uh, the occupational structure. That means it is slowly related or closely related to something called as economics, where we talk about the sectors of the economy. Now, under the sectors of the economy, we talk about the three sectors, that is the primary sector, the secondary sector, and the tertiary sector. Now, coming to the primary sector is mainly concerned. Can anyone give me primary sector is mainly concerned with?
Agriculture, ma'am.
Very good. It is concerned with agriculture. So actually, when we take the historical aspect of it, every country in the beginning was an agricultural country. With only 5% of the people. As far as India is concerned, even though we talk about so many years of independence, so much of development, we talk about so many things, but still today also, almost 60% or approximately 50% of the population are still engaged in agriculture. So this is considered to be a concern because when we talk about the development, the shift should occur from the primary sector to the secondary sector to the tertiary sector. And finally, these two sectors, that is the secondary and the tertiary sector, are supposed to employ more number of people. But whatever it is, we are not talking from the point of view of economics. Today, we will be dealing it. What is agriculture? What are the characteristics of agriculture? What are the changes that have taken place in agriculture? And what are the important crops? We talk about the soils and what are the various characteristics. So when we say agriculture and the characteristics and also the problems, when we take, for example, we all know that even now also India is called as an agricultural country. Why it is called as an agricultural country? The reason is that two-thirds of the population are engaged in agricultural activities. As I told you just now, agriculture is a primary activity and produces most of the food and the food grains. Especially, we know that Indian population is the second most populous country in the world. We need to feed millions of people or mouths of the people. That is the reason why we have to produce a lot of food and food grains industries, because we have a number of agro-based industries also, like the cotton textile industry, or you talk about the sugar industry, the jute industry, or rubber industry. Any industry, if you take, for example, the agriculture provides the raw materials. Apart from that, there are also certain products which we export to other countries and which we earn a lot of foreign exchange. Like, for example, tea, coffee, spices, and then we also have this turmeric. All these are some of the important products or agricultural products which we export to other countries, and we also earn a lot of foreign exchange also. So these, next we talk about what are the different types of farming methods we have. From that means from the ancient times, if you take, for example, what are the important farming systems we have? One is called as a primitive subsistence farming. What is the subsistence primitive farming? Is that it is practiced in a very few pockets of India on small patches of land using primitive tools and family or community labor. Basically, they take a very small piece of land and most of the family members will be involved in the cultivation of the crops. So this is also referred to as slash and burn cultivation also. Does anyone know What is a slash and burn cultivation? What is a slash and burn cultivation?
Ma'am, after the crop is harvested, they burn the field and move to next land, ma'am.
Is it burning the field? It's not very
Means
clear.
like
Cut
they'll
Say,
down the
cut
forest.
off and
so that means they go to a forest, clear the entire forest. They cut down the trees, they clear the entire area, they burn down the trees, and whatever ash that comes from the burning of the trees, that will be mixed with the soil. The reason is that they can increase the fertility of the soil. This is considered to be a slash and burn cultivation, or it is also called as a shifting cultivation. That means when they burn the trees, when they use that particular ash which comes out after burning the trees, when they mix with the soil fertility will be there for a certain period of time. After cultivating for a certain period of time, they abandon. Once they find that the soil fertility is lost, they abandon that land. Again, they go and again they clear a patch of the forest and they continue like this. But what is the main defect of this particular shifting cultivation is that if you go on clearing the forest and abandon, they become barren lands or the soil fertility is totally reduced. This is a wrong method of cultivation. But in the earlier times, it was used like that only. So what is a primitive subsistence farming is that, which is a very small piece of land, by cutting down the forest, clearing the forest, they try to cultivate the crops. So he will clear a patch of land and he will be producing cereals and the other food crops to sustain their family. This is only for their family, not for selling. Primitive subsistence farming, use the word subsistence, means it is only meant for the family. Okay. When the soil fertility decreases, the farmers shift and clear a fresh patch of land for cultivation. This type of shifting allows nature to replenish the fertility of the soil through natural process. Why does the farmer abandon the soil? Is that there is a belief that suppose if you abandon the land like that, the soil naturally will get back its fertility and other things they believe like that. But the land productivity is very low as the farmer does not use the fertilizers or any other modern inputs. That means he will be only using the natural substances. He does not use any chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, nothing he will use. So that is the reason why the productivity is very less. What do you mean by productivity? What do you mean by productivity? Is the yield. What is the amount of crop you will get when you grow in a particular area? Like for example, for 1 acre, how many bags of rice, bags of wheat, bags of other things they will calculate. That is called as productivity. So the productivity will be less here because the farmer does not use any sort of pesticides, insecticides, fertilizers, nothing he uses. That is called as primitive subsistence. Next one is called as intensive subsistence farming. So what is this intensive subsistence farming is that it is practiced in areas high population pressure on the land. It is labor intensive farming. Now in the earlier one I said that only the family labor is used, but here it is practiced in areas where there is high density of population. There is a lot of demand for food. They have to produce more. So they will try to use whatever land is available. They will try to cultivate more and try to get more and more productivity also. And they also employ a lot of labor here. Not only the family labor, lot of labor is also used. Yield per hectare is very high because high doses of biochemical inputs and irrigation. The difference between primitive and intensive is that in intensive, the productivity is very high. Why it is very high? Because here the farmer uses lots of chemicals, fertilizers, and he also gets the help of irrigation also. Whereas in the primitive subsistence, the farmer depends mainly on the rainfall. If the rainfall occurs, then he will cultivate the crop. If the rainfall does not occur on time, sometimes he may not be able to cultivate the crops also. But here it is totally dependent upon irrigation. The size of the land holdings is very small and uneconomical. Actually, here also, as I said, that it is only because of the demand. but the land is very less, and the farmers take maximum output from the limited land by raising 2-3 crops in a year from the same land. That is, multiple cropping is practiced. That means the land is very small, but the farmer tries to take the maximum productivity by cultivating 2-3 crops, which you call it as a multiple cropping system. That means first he will cultivate paddy, then he will cultivate some other cereal, and then he will go for fruits, then he will go for vegetables. Like that, he will be using different crops on the same land. That means at least 2 to 3 crops he will be having in one year. So that is the reason why he will be pulling the entire output from the land as such. Then you have the commercial agriculture. In this, the crops are mainly grown for commercial purposes. So, what is the difference between the three? Primitive is only for the family. Intensive is for the family as well as for the for selling purposes also. But commercial agriculture is only for selling, not for family consumption. So, what are the crops here? Are the crops are grown for commercial purposes? As I told you that it is only meant for sale. So it is practiced on large pieces of land on scientific and commercial lines using the machines and the modern technology. So here they will totally depend upon the modern methods of cultivation. They will use high doses of high doses of chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, and also the modern technology. Maybe they will go for machines and other things also. So there is higher use of modern agricultural inputs like HI, seeds, that is a high yielding variety seeds, fertilizers, irrigation. That means everything is controlled here. That means they plan out everything and see that they have to get the product. Rice is the commercial crop in Punjab, while in Odisha it is subsistence crop. Example, plantation agriculture. So when you take the commercial crops here, they will differ accordingly. Like for example, rice becomes a commercial crop in Punjab because wheat is the main crop for them. Whereas in South India, rice becomes a subsistence crop. That means it is usually meant for the consumption of the things. Am I clear with all the three? Primitive, intensive, and commercial. Am I clear? Yeah. Okay. Coming to the land utilization, how do we use the land? The land can be used for various purposes. That is, the land is there for forest, which is not available for cultivation. What do you mean by land not available for cultivation? Like, for example, you take the cities. In cities, you cannot use any land for cultivation. Can we grow rice? Can we grow wheat? Can we grow anything here in the cities? If you take the metro cities or if you take any of the cities, you cannot grow any crops. That is the reason why it is called as not available for cultivation. Next one is called as barren and wasteland. What is a barren land and what is a wasteland? It seems means which you cannot even grow grass also over there. That is called as a barren land. That is called as a wasteland. Then, like I just now I told you, that land which is used for non-agricultural purposes, especially in cities, use the land for buildings, roads, factories, etc., not for cultivation purposes, which you call it as non-agricultural purposes. Other uncultivated land, that is fallow land you call it as. That means other uncultivated land is that which is not suitable for growing of any crops. What is a fallow land? Can anyone give me the example of a fallow land? A fallow land is that which, yeah, yes. Ma'am. Can anyone give me the answer? A fallow land is that which is not cultivated by a farmer from 1 to 5 years. That means that is a fertile land, that is an agricultural land, but the farmer does not cultivate the land. It can be for 1 year, it can be for till 5 years also. So if he is not cultivating, it is called as a fallow land. So permanent pastures, grazing lands, land under miscellaneous trees, crops and groups. Cultivable wasteland. What is a cultivable wasteland means? Which is not cultivated for more than 5 agricultural years. If the farmer has not grown the crops for 5 long years, it will be called as a cultivable wasteland. Remember that word, cultivable wasteland. It is called as. Then you have the fallow lands. Just now I gave you the example of fallow lands. Current fallow. left without cultivation for more or less than one agricultural year is called as current fallow land. Fallow land is that which is not cultivated for more than 1 year. Cultivable is that which is not cultivated for 5 years. Other than current fallow land left uncultivated for the past 1 to 5 years. So that means other than the current fallow land, you also the other land also. Then you have the net sown area sown more than once in agricultural year plus net sown area is known as the gross cropped area. That means what is the total agricultural area in the country? Like for example, what is the total area of the country of India? What is the total geographical area of India? Come on, children. Because we have done in India size and location. I think 2 weeks back I told you what is the total area of India. Children, come on. What is the
Ma'am,
total?
approximately 90 lakh square kilometers.
No, you cannot tell like that. You have to tell me in square kilometers.
Yeah, 90 lakh square kilometers.
That is not acceptable in geography. What is the total geographical area of India? Means 3.28 million square kilometers. You cannot give that answer. That answer will be wrong, not acceptable. 3.28 million square kilometers is the total geographical area of India. Now, out of 3.28 million square kilometers, can you grow land or cultivate your crops in all the 3.28 million square kilometers? Highly impossible. So, out of the 3.28 million square kilometers, how much is the agricultural land? In that, how much of agricultural land per year? How much land is put under cultivation? There is no hard and fast rule that, for example, if you take 40 lakh hectares or 50 lakh hectares of land is there. I'm just giving you an example because I'm not very sure about the total agricultural land in the country. So if you take all the states and other things, for example, if you take, there is 40 lakh square kilometers is there. For example, if you take, now, there is no hard and fast rule that you will be cultivating in all the 40 lakh. It can be less than that also. So, whatever land you are cultivating, that will be called as the net sown area. Am I clear with you? Yes, ma'am? Yeah. Then, coming to the major crops in India. What are the major crops? A variety. Now, one important feature I want to talk to you about Indian agriculture is that name a crop that is cultivated in our country. There is no question that this particular crop is not grown, that particular crop is not grown, because India has a variety of soils. India has a variety of climatic conditions, because of which throughout the year they can cultivate the crops. They can cultivate the crops throughout the year because they have very good soils. They have different types of soils, different climatic conditions, because of which they are able to cultivate the crops as such. Okay. Now, coming to the crops that are grown there. Charan, can you mute yourself, ma? Charan, mute yourself. Yeah. So, what are the major crops of our country is that a variety of food and non-food crops are grown in different parts of India, depending upon the variations in soil. Just now I told you we have different types of soil, different climatic conditions, and also cultivation practices also. So, what are the major crops in India? Rice, wheat, millets, pulses, tea, coffee, sugarcane, oil seeds, cotton, and tea. These are considered to be the main crops which are grown in our country. So first one, when we talk about rice, it is a kharif crop. Now, before going into this concept of this, we have three crop seasons. They're called as kharif, rabi, and zaid. Kharif season starts from June to September with the onset of the southwest monsoon. Along with that, that means from June to September, as soon as your southwest monsoon sets in, they start with the kharif season. So kharif crops is there immediately after your summer season. Then you have the rabi season, which is called as a winter crop, which starts from the month of October, goes on till January. So kharif crop ends with your celebration of your Dashara, and your Rabi season ends with the celebration of Sankranti, Baisakhi, and other things we use. And These two are the major crops that are usually found in our country. But there is also a third crop season which is called as Zayat. But the problem with Zayat is that the Zayat season is possible wherever water is possible, because it starts in the month of March, continues till the month of June. So as we know that March is a summer season in India. March to June is a peak summer for India. Usually there are no rains in our country at that time. That means rains may be there, occasional rains may be there, but that much of rainfall will not be there, which will be helpful for the cultivation of the crops. So Zayat is a season where this is possible wherever there is irrigation facilities are available or abundant water is available, there only you can grow this crop. So, am I clear with that? So rice is a kharif crop. When you are learning in agriculture, these are very important. Temperature, rainfall, soil, states. These 4 points you should know. So it requires high temperature, high humidity with annual rainfall above 100 centimeters. So wherever 100 centimeters of rainfall is there, there you can cultivate rice. It is the largest producer of rice in the world after China. That means we are the second largest producer. China is the first largest producer. It is grown in the plains of north and northeastern India, coastal areas in the deltaic region. So where are they mostly found is northern India, that is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal. Then you have the northeastern states also. Mostly, I think it is Assam and other places, and especially Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu. These are the areas where you find rice mostly, and also the deltaic regions. So all the delta regions also you find this crop grown here. Then you have the wheat. It is a rabi crop. As I said, it is grown in the second season. It is a winter crop. It requires a cool growing season and bright sunshine at the time of ripening. This is the important condition. Requires 50 to 75 centimeters of annual rainfall. Rice is 100 and wheat is only 50 to 75, and it is distributed over the growing season also. The Ganga Satluj plains in the northwest and the black soil region, the Deccan, are the two main wheat growing zones in India. So these are the two areas where you find mostly wheat is grown. Next, it is the second most important cereal crop and main food crop in the north and northwestern part of India. So rice becomes the staple crop or the important crop in South India, whereas wheat becomes the most important crop in the northern India, because most of the North Indians, they consume chapati as the main staple food for them, so they use wheat. And also in the northwestern, but that is Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Jammu, Kashmir, all these places also consume wheat as a staple crop. Then you have millets, that is jowar, bajra, and ragi. Now, I think Indians are mostly going for these millets. Like you have the jowar roti, you have the bajra roti, you have the ragi drink, and other things are coming into existence. So millets, actually, if we take the history of India earlier, that means before the Britishers or all these people have come, Indians mostly used millets. That means they depended more on the millets and less on wheat and rice. But because of this green revolution and because of the government as announcing the minimum support price and all that, the farmers nowadays are mostly growing wheat and rice, and they have neglected this jowar, bajra, and ragi. Actually, jowar, bajra, and ragi are the staple food for the poorer sections of India. For example, if you take Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, if you take all those northern states, for example, most of the people they used to eat jowar, bajra, and ragi. But recently, because of so many changes that have come in the diet structure and other things, as such people have become health conscious. So now people are again switching back to millets, which is considered to be a very good thing also. And suppose if they grow more of millets also, the soil fertility can be retained. They don't use so much of water. If you take, for example, rice requires lots of water. We require a lot of water if you want to grow crops. Now you can reduce that. Okay, so when we talk about the millets, for example, millets are helpful to us by which we can protect the soil fertility, we can save water also, and we can also reduce this use of fertilizers and other things can be used by which We can also protect our environment. So there are so many benefits if we go for the millets crops as such. So jowar, bajra, and ragi are considered to be the important millets which are grown in our country. And these are also known as the coarse grains and have very high nutritional value. Just now I told you, because the changing lifestyle, people are now going for millets instead of using for rice and wheat. Now, if you take jowar, it is the third most important food crop with respect to area and production. So after rice and wheat, this is the third one which is usually grown in our country. It is a rain-fed crop mostly grown in the moist areas. That means it depends upon the rainfall. If the rainfall is very good, you can grow jowar very good in those areas. Mainly produced in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. I think Maharashtra has the largest production of jowar in our country, followed by Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. Bajra grows well on sandy soils and shallow black soil. Major producing states are Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, then Maharashtra, Gujarat. It is usually grown in north, as I told you that they are the people who mostly consume this bajra. Then you have ragi. It is a crop of dry regions, grows well on red, black, sandy, loamy, and the shallow black soils. Major producing states are Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Jharkhand, and Arunachal Pradesh. All these three are considered to be the coarse grains also. Maize, it is a kharif crop. Once again, requires a temperature between 21 degrees to 27 degrees and grows well in old alluvial soil. Last time I was explaining about the old and the new. Can anyone tell me what are the new and the old alluvial soils? Let me see how much you remember. What is the old alluvial soil called as? What is the new alluvial soil called as? Manchilan, Khadar and Bangar. Do you remember these two names I told you? Ashwini, Vikram. Children, you should remember and should strike very fast when I explain certain things. Okay. Yeah, it is used as both as a food and a fodder. What do you mean by fodder crop, ma'am? What is
For
it?
animals, ma'am.
Yeah, very good. So maize is both used for a food crop as well as the fodder crop also. And what are the important states are Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. Then you have the pulses. India is the largest producer and consumer of pulses in the world. You all know that tuar dal, urad dal, then chana dal. These are all the various dals which we produce in our country. Apart from that, there are so many. So we are the largest producer as well as a consumer also. How much of pulses we use, no one else uses in the world, I think. Pulses are the major source of protein in a vegetarian diet, especially for the vegetarians. Pulses are considered to be very important because they try to substitute the non-vegetarian food because it is not consumed by the vegetarians. They depend mostly on the dals for the protein as such. Major pulses grown in India are tur dal, urad dal, moong dal, masoor dal, peas, and gram. These are the various pulses which are grown in our country. Pulses are mostly grown in rotation with other crops so that the soil restores the fertility. It's a rotation crop. That means they will grow rice, then they will grow tur, then again they will grow wheat, then again they will grow pulses. Like that, they will use it so that the soil restores the fertility, so that there is no overutilization of the soil. They'll try to use this. Major pulse producing states are Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Karnataka. Then you have sugarcane. It is a tropical as well as subtropical crop also. Grows well in hot and humid climates with temperature 21 degrees to 27 degrees and annual rainfall between 75 centimeters to 100 centimeters. So these are the temperatures you should be knowing very clearly also. Grown on a variety. Actually, it is not variety of soils. Mostly it is the black soil. Needs manual labor from sowing to harvesting. It's a labor intensive crop. Lots of labor is required for this. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane, only after Brazil. Brazil is the first country leading producer. Sugarcane is the main source of sugar. Good, you must be knowing about good and jaggery, and also the Kandasari sugar, as well as the molasses also. Molasses is that when you take out the juice, whatever remains, that is called as a molasses. Okay, the major sugar producing states are Uttar Pradesh is the leading state, followed by Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, Punjab, and Haryana also. But it is basically concentrated with the South Indian states. Sugarcane is mostly produced in the South Indian states, especially Maharashtra, then Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh. Then you have tea. It is also an important beverage crop introduced by the British India. Actually, Britishers were the first to introduce tea in our country. It grows well in tropical, subtropical climates with deep and fertile, well-drained soil rich in humus and organic matter. Tea bushes require warm and moist-free climate all through the year, so they should not have any frost-free, frost climatic conditions are not acceptable. It is also labor-intensive industry. You all know that they will pluck the tea leaves and all that. You must have seen somewhere in the things as such. So major producing states are of course Assam, Darjeeling, Jalpaiguri districts in West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. But mostly it is concentrated in Darjeeling, Assam, Jalpaiguri districts of Bengal, and then you have Tamil Nadu and Kerala also here and there. But usually it is mostly concentrated in Darjeeling only. Coffee. Yemen coffee is produced in India, and this variety of coffee is in great demand all over the world. Its cultivation was introduced on the Baba Budan Hills and is confined to the Nilgiri in Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. You must have heard about Kurg. Kurg is one place where you find mostly coffee as such. Then you have the horticulture crops. Now, it is also a producer of tropical and temperate foods also. Major crops produced are pea, cauliflower, onion, cabbage, tomato, brinjal, and potato. Some of the famous horticulture crops grown in India are mangoes of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. Oranges of Nagpur, you know Nagpur oranges, and Cherrapunji, Meghalaya. Bananas of Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra, and Kerala. Then lychee and Goa of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, then pineapples of Meghalaya, grapes of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra, apples, pears, apricots, walnuts of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. So you have to remember the names of these important horticulture crops. Mangoes, oranges, lychee, and Goa of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, which are very famous in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Then you have the pineapples of Meghalaya, then you have the grapes of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra. Then apples, pears, apricots, and walnuts of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. These are very popular for us. Then you have the non-food crops, that is rubber, fiber, cotton, jute. So rubber, mostly, I think Kerala is very popular for rubber. It's an equatorial crop. Okay, it requires moist, humid climate with rainfall of more than 200 centimeters and temperature of 25 degrees. It's an important industrial raw material. The entire tire industry, all your automobiles, everything will depend upon this particular crop. So mainly grown in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and Garo Hills of Meghalaya. These are the important areas which are grown. Then you have the fiber, cotton, jute, hemp, and natural silk are the four major fiber crops. Cotton, jute, and hemp are grown in the soils. Natural silk is obtained from the cocoons. That means when we are differentiating the fibers, for example, cotton, jute, and hemp are cultivated, you will get it. But natural silk is obtained from the cocoons of the silkworms fed on the green leaves also. Rearing of the silkworms from the production of silk fiber is also known as a sericulture. You must be knowing this word of sericulture. Then you have cotton. It is a kharif crop, not a rabi crop. That means you should know which are the kharif crops, which are the rabi crops. So when it is asked in MCQ, you should be able to know which is a kharif crop, which is a rabi crop. It requires high temperature, light rainfall, 210 frost-free days. Compulsory it is. It should have the 210 frost-free. By the way, what do you mean by frost? What do you mean by frost? Frost is that small ice-like thing which will occur. No, sometimes you can't find anything, fog and all that. There is no clarity, vision will not be there. That type of climatic condition is not suitable for crop. If it comes, that crop will get spoiled. Okay, cotton grows well in black cotton soil of the Deccan Plateau. Mostly Maharashtra and I think Andhra Pradesh are popular for this. Then you have the major cotton producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh also. Coming to jute, it is also called as a golden fiber. The name given to jute is golden fiber. It grows well on well-drained, fertile soils in the floodplains. High temperature is required. It is used in making gunny bags, mats, ropes, yarn, carpets, and other articrafts. Major jute-producing states are West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, and Meghalaya. So these are all called as a non-food crops. Then coming to the soils. What are the important soils? One is alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil, then you have the desert soil, forest and mountainous soil. These are the various soils we have. But of all these soils, alluvial soil is considered to be the most fertile soil. So the entire northern plains are made of alluvial soil, also found in the eastern coastal plains, particularly in the deltas of Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna and the Kaveri rivers. This we have done in physical features also, that is a formation of the Indo-Gangetic plain because of the interplay of what are the three rivers? Indo-Gangetic plain is formed by the interplay of three rivers like Indo-Gangetic plain is formed by the interplay of which three rivers, ma? Come on.
Brahmaputra, madam.
Yeah, and Indus, Ganges, and the Brahmaputra. These are the three rivers by which the Indo-Gangetic plain is formed. So you find mostly in the northern plains is made of alluvial soil. Plus we also find in Mahanadi. Mahanadi is in Odisha. Then you have the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri rivers. Fertile soil, therefore fit for agricultural purposes. Regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. All the areas are highly populated as well as intensively cultivated also. Rich in potash, phosphoric acid, and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat, and other cereal crops also. So I'll stop here because only 1 minute is left over. I'll come back to the class. Yeah. So this is as far as agriculture is concerned, where we talked about the crops and other things. So next week we'll continue with the soil. Then we'll talk about the changes that have been taken place, like green revolution and other revolutions which have taken place. But basically, what are the problems that we are facing in agriculture also will be discussed in the next week. Okay, Shailaja?
Yeah. Thank you, Shamla. This notes will you share, Shamla?